This is the last outstanding naval mystery left in Australia where we do not know what happened to the vessel and do not know where it lies.
There are 35 of our submariners out there. Their fate is unknown.
I was a 4-year-old and I could tell you that submarine AE1 was lost on the 14th of September off the Duke of York Islands.
For those family members, this is really, really important because it will give them a sense of closure. It will bring an end to that story.
It was our first submarine, it was our first naval loss, and we need to find out where it is.
In 2017, a team of submariners, maritime archaeologists and underwater search experts arrive in Papua New Guinea, determined to solve the 103-year-old mystery of AE1.
I would like to think that if something like that had happened to me, someone would take the trouble to find me and at least understand what had gone wrong, what had happened, and that's what motivates us.
Submarines AE1 and AE2 were launched in 1913 from the Vickers shipyards in Barrow-in-Furness, England. 55 metres long and fitted with 4 18-inch torpedo tubes, they were state-of-the-art in submarine design. AE1 was crewed by 35 men, a mixture of British, Australians and 1 New Zealander, under the command of Lieutenant Commander Thomas Besant. AE1 and AE2 arrived in Sydney Harbour in May 1914, having completed the longest submarine voyage ever undertaken. 3 months later, Britain declared war on Germany. AE1 and AE2 joined the Australian Naval and Military Expeditionary Force tasked with capturing German Pacific colonies. They were assigned to operations in German New Guinea with the objective of seizing German naval wireless facilities.
On the day that AE1 was lost, she had proceeded to sea in company with the destroyer boat HMAS Parramatta, and their job was to scout in the St George's Channel to make sure that the German fleet, which was somewhere in the Pacific but no one knew where, did not come upon the Australian invasion force and catch them unawares.
At 2:30 on the afternoon of September 14, AE1 rendezvoused with Parramatta off the Duke of York Islands and asked for visibility conditions. It was the last time AE1 and her crew were ever seen.
The following day and for 3 days thereafter, small boats and steam pinnaces made a detailed search of all the shorelines around the Gazelle Peninsula and the Duke of York Islands, and they found nothing. There was no oil, there was no debris, no bodies, no flotsam, no nothing.
Wartime pressures cut short the immediate search efforts, and for over 60 years, AE1 and her crew were largely forgotten.
The next series of searches were made by a man called John Foster, who was a naval officer, and he was the naval advisor in the High Commission at Port Moresby.
Commander Foster dedicated over 30 years to researching the loss in what became known as Project AE1. He led a number of expeditions to test his theories.
One theory, as Commander Foster put it, was that AE1 was drifted onto the reefs off the east coast of the Duke of York's, was holed, and then sank as a result of that.
In 2015, a fined AE1 expedition, led by Peter Briggs, surveyed the waters where AE1 could have sunk following a reef grounding.
There is the point and the fringing reef, and there's actually an outcrop, or in 1914 there was an outcrop off the end of the reef there.
Quite a number of linear features, all of which are about 50 metres long. So there's a whole line of boulders. We'll collect some more data over those, just in case the AE1's lying amongst them and perhaps concealed amongst the rubble there.
With Peter's expedition in 2015, the multi-beam echo sounder for the first time, very accurately mapped the east coast of the Duke of York Islands down to the 200 metre depth, and that was the limit of capability, basically, of the equipment that they had. So we know she's not nestled up against the foot of the reef.
Through the support of the Australian National Maritime Museum, the Find AE1 community assembled in 2016 to re-examine the original records and evaluate existing theories surrounding the disappearance. New clues were uncovered.
The most likely scenario, based on the research that's been done, is that the submarine was heading back to base at Rabaul and probably entered into a dive, either as a practice exercise or a crash dive, and something happened. Something went terribly awry during that.
Based on this theory, the team identified a search area focusing on the routes AE1 could have taken on her way back to base at Rabaul.
We worked with Australian survey companies, IX Blue in particular, to evaluate the technology, what sort of ship we needed, how long it would take to do it.
A major breakthrough occurred when the survey company Fugro made one of their specialised vessels available. John Mullen, CEO and founder of Silent World Foundation, offered to find sponsors to meet 50% of the cost. The Australian government agreed to meet the other half.
I think it is of huge significance to Australia. It's significance to the Navy, to our understanding of our wartime past, but more importantly, it's a human story.
In December 2017, an 8-person team joined the Fugro Equator, a dedicated survey ship fitted with multi-beam echo sounders and a sophisticated autonomous underwater vehicle.
Very impressive technology, very impressive capability, and I have great confidence that when we finish this process, if we don't find the submarine, we'll be able to certainly say it is not there. There won't be any doubt left. At the same time, I'm quietly confident that we're going to solve this puzzle.
After a 4-day voyage from Port Moresby, the team arrives in the primary search area, the waters around AE1's last known position.
7:35, entered the search area. We're on the trail of AE1. We're operating 2 multi-beam echo sounders from the ship and a sub-bottom profile sonar from the ship, so we're collecting data in the search area as we move across to Rabaul.
The ship's hull-mounted multi-beam echo sounder generates an accurate profile of the seafloor and provides the autonomous underwater vehicle with the data required for its mission.
Last known position here was where AE1 and Parramatta came close together. They had a conversation, probably by megaphone, before Parramatta opened out to the east, lost sight of AE1, and that was indeed the last time AE1 was seen. We expect that she was heading back to Rabaul, which is down around that point. He was heading back to get back before sunset. Something happened on the way. We think the submarine is intact on the bottom, not that far away from us now.
With the multi-beam survey completed, the crew prepare the AUV for its first mission.
First things first, check correct operation of hydraulics.
Packed with sensors and cameras, this state-of-the-art underwater robot can operate independently for over 20 hours at depths down to 3,000 metres.
Auto stop, auto's good.
This will be the first detailed look through the last known position. There's never been suitable technology available to do it before.
So the AUV will cover the seabed in a regular pattern of parallel lines, 150 metres apart. It'll turn around at the end of each line and just cover the area as if you were mowing the lawn at home.
The AUV went in for the first mission at midnight It's been very busy, up and down, 150 metres apart, with its side-scan sonar and its multi-beam echo sounder and its sub-bottom profiler. So there's a massive amount of data.
20 hours after its launch, the AUV is commanded to surface, and the crew recover it with a grappling hook fired from a harpoon gun.
Taking shot, taking shot.
The data from the mission gets uploaded to the survey computers while the AUV is prepared for another dive.
They just started processing, so I wasn't expecting to hear anything much when the knock on the door came and I was asked to come and have a look at this.
Oh, quite a moment. We'd just got the results from the first mission flown by the AUV. And there it was on line 1 of mission 1, an image which was almost exactly what we were expecting in terms of finding the submarine. The dimensions are right, it's the right length, 54 metres. We're still waiting for the data to be processed, which will give us a little bit of a clearer view. But I think we're feeling at this stage, we're feeling very confident that this is going to turn out to be what we're looking for. It's a very exciting moment.
We then made the really significant decision that we would stop the search and we would undertake a drop camera examination of this contact. Two metres forward, please. Give me 1 more metre down. Okay, something coming into view now. Definite shape. That looks to be the bow. Within 30 seconds of the camera coming down at the bow, we could see the outline of the foreplanes. The shape is absolutely unique. There is no one around that looks like that. We have found AE1. The forward periscope looks like it's raised, the after one looks like it's lowered.
Looked like the hatch was shut.
The hatch was shut, I agree.
And another immediate recognition was that the foreplanes were set hard to rise, indicating that the last thing the crew did was to try to get to the surface, probably in emergency, and demonstrates that they were taking the appropriate emergency action, even if they didn't get the result that that should have produced.
Significant damage, port ballast tank, you can see the frames and major bits of plating missing. Whatever happened, I think it would have been quick. This is not a situation of a crew stranded on the bottom in a submarine waiting their fate. It would have happened very quickly, and I doubt that the crew really knew what hit them.
As part of our ode, Australians say that we will remember them. Today, we've actually done that with the case of AE1.
They have no grave, but the cruel sea. No flowers lay at their head. A rusting hulk is their tombstone, a fast on the ocean bed. We will remember them, lest we forget.
He was never lost to the naval community. He was always, to them, waiting to be found. The submariners who followed, wearing his big boots, never gave up on him, and a dedicated, skilled team of people worked tirelessly to solve the mystery. And they found him.
Well, the Fulgro expedition was 100% successful. The aim of that mission was to find AE1 and to identify her positively. However, the imagery that we obtained from the Fugro expedition was a little limited, and it was important, we felt, to record the exact condition of the wreck as soon as we could after we had found it. And for that we would need more sophisticated equipment, high-definition cameras mounted on an ROV that could be controlled and therefore could give us a complete survey of the wreck.
In April 2018, use of the research vessel Petrel was generously donated by its owner, Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen. A 4-person team from Find AE1, the Australian National Maritime Museum and Curtin University joined the ship for a 3-day survey.
We've had a marvellous opportunity to take advantage of it. Petrel, the owner, Mr. Paul Allen, has made his ship and highly experienced crew available.
Mr. Allen has a keen interest in the archaeology side of it, the marine sciences, but the history side is very important to him.
It's all electric. It's 6,000 meter capable. It operates on 4,500 volts of electricity. We send that down, it gets distributed, and the feed from the cameras come up through a fiber optic cable.
Okay, ROV's on its way down. ROV heading is 210.
15 to contact.
The first ROV sighting of HMAS AE1. 103 years in the making.
Monitoring from the ROV control room, the team immediately encounter the unexpected.
The stern cap has been opened, so this shutter here is the stern cap, and it's pulled up out of the way. Fascinating.
Why is the outer door of the stern torpedo tube, why is that open? Did that help cause some kind of an excursion? Did it alter their trim?
It's very evident that it was intentionally opened. This is not a consequence of the wreck. There are a few different theories going around as to why that might have happened. One of them is that the crew may have been engaged in a training exercise. They were just going through the motions of preparing the torpedo for launch. But another possibility is that they may have gotten spooked. They might have seen a ship that they thought was an enemy, and they had actually prepared that stern torpedo for firing.
Another area of surprise to us was the extent of the implosion damage, which extends from the fore ends right back to the after end of the control room, as far as the beam tubes. So we can actually, in one area, see the battery. Now that means that the control room deck has gone, that the implosion damage is about knee height in the control room, much lower than we'd first expected.
With its first mission completed, the ROV gets an additional camera installed, one that will provide a unique view of AE1.
So we've just fitted one of the stills cameras to the ROV, and we'll be capturing thousands of photographs. Our aim is to capture every single angle, every particular surface of the wreck so that we can do a 3D reconstruction in post-production.
As the ROV meticulously traverses the wreck, glimpses of AE1's final moments are revealed.
So here you can see the pilots using the manipulator arm to film the telegraph. This was the device on the bridge that was used to communicate between the bridge and the engine room. And if we can figure out what position that telegraph is in, that may give us a clue as to what led to the submarine's loss.
On the following ROV mission, the team uncover the most significant clue yet.
At least the ventilation sluice valves we're seeing.
That one's open. That one's partially open.
Yeah, it does look like it has it doesn't it? Like
yeah.
A plate that comes across the... Can you have a good look at that? This could be a smoking gun.
We're now looking down on the two forward battery ventilation valve inlets, which we can see are most probably shut and also have debris sitting on top of them. If those valves were open, this debris would not be seated where it is. The ship's ventilation inlet valve, we can see down through this hole, is clearly open. We can see the slide here approximately 1/3 shut, leaving approximately 2/3 open to the seawater. Now one can interpret that as saying that upon diving there was a flood, they attempted to shut the valve, which is now why we see it in the 1/3 shut position, but that meanwhile the ingress of water caused her to be heavy, which led to the excursion and loss of control, which led to the tragedy.
After 5 ROV missions and over 15 hours detailing every aspect of the wreck, the baseline survey is completed and analysis of the data begins.
We've collected over 8,000 images during the expedition. We've also managed to process some of the results, and we've been able to show that to the crew, and everyone's very excited about the results we've been able to achieve on this expedition.
It will be incredibly beneficial to us in the long run. We'll be able to generate our photogrammetric model of the wreck site. It'll be great for exhibition and interpretation outcomes. It's going to be the means by which we can best strategize how we will manage the wreck in the future.
After 103 years, the question of what happened to AE1 can finally be answered.
The consensus is that she was on passage back to Rabaul. She found herself with a little more time in hand than she had expected, probably as much as an hour. That's time to conduct a practice dive. She executes that dive. The ventilation valve is open. That leads to an ingress of water, which upsets the trim, causes them to lose control. They attempt to surface by putting the planes hard to rise, which in the case of the aft planes actually causes the stern to go down further. The consequence of all of that is that she passes crush depth. The implosion takes place. The submarine continues on down to its present resting place, striking the sea bottom bow up, causing the fin to topple into the implosion damage, causing the rudder to be broken off. There appears to be attempts made to have shut that ventilation valve, but it would have been a matter of seconds before they all perished. It would have been a very sudden end.
This Anzac Day was very different for the descendant family members. It wasn't remembering the men of a lost submarine. It wasn't a mystery waiting to be solved. We knew where our men were. We can appreciate all the support that has been given by people who cared and people who respected the men of AE1 as the pioneers that they are.
I'd like to leave you just with a reflection of the service and the sacrifice of the crew of this submarine. It was written by able seaman John Wheat of HMAS AE2. To the memory of our sister ship AE1 and her crew. We took the first patrol on the 13th. They took the second next day. We came back. They didn't. They lie coffined in the deep, keeping their silent watch at Australia's Northern Passage. Heroes all, lest we forget.